Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, I want to go over callouts and details. Basically, I want to create a nice foundation detail for my house. Now, of course, if you already have them set up, you can insert those detail files by going Insert from File, selecting Insert Views from File, and inserting your detail file. And remember, this will import schedules, layouts, drafting views, millwork and ceiling details, so this will bring all of those in if you have them. But if you're like me and have more of a custom foundation detail, this lesson will show you how to set it up. So what I've done is I've drawn a section marker right through the outside of my building. And when I open it up, this is basically what my section now looks like. Well, I'm going to need a couple of things here. I'm going to need some thermal layers, I'm going to need to cut back some of these layers, I'm going to need to draw in a key, and I'm going to start annotating that. So the first thing I want to do is increase my size to 1 inch equals a foot. Remember, you can always change that later if you need to. And then what I'm going to do is shrink down this detail so that really it's just the foundation and this element. I'll move that basement plan tag over. Alright, that looks good. Alright, let me go ahead and hide that line right there. Okay, so first things first. We actually end up having the floor intersecting this concrete retaining wall. Now, floors just can't go through concrete. Usually they wind up sitting on a sill or on the concrete. So we're actually going to want to cut that back. Now, you could do that in Edit Boundary. Go into sketch mode and cut that back so that it doesn't go all the way to the edge. Or you can cut it back manually. To edit it manually, go to the View tab and then Cut Profile. Now, I'll be honest, this tends to throw me off, because I would always think Cut Profile should be under Annotations, since you can draw over an element of detailing, but it's actually under the View tab. So we'll select Cut Profile. Now when you do that, what you can do is actually draw a line, and once you draw that line, if you zoom in close, you'll see an arrow, and that points to what side you want to keep. Hit the check mark when it's pointing in the right direction, and it'll cut it back. But I'll actually edit my sketch again, and I'll make it sit more in the middle. And then I'll hit the check mark. Now, keep in mind that these details may not be 100% accurate, but it can give you an idea of how you can start detailing and editing your model to get what you need. So I'll just start cutting these out again, and even if the detailing isn't 100% accurate, the process of detailing in Revit that we're going through now is what's essential here. And I actually think I'm going to cut this wall back, because we want this wall to be smaller. It's the foundation that should be large. So I'll actually cut this back a little bit further. So I'll go into Edit Sketch, and I'll cut everything back a little bit more like this. Alright, that's better, and it's going to be sitting right there. So I also want to draw continuous foam insulation all around it. So to depict that, what I'll do is go to the Annotate tab, and I'll create a region hatch. Now region hatches are perfect, because they can cover over anything you want, and they can just show regions in general. Now remember, when you're going through and doing this, you'll need to take more time and be more accurate. But this lesson is more about covering the technical process. So I'm just showing you right now how to do region hatches. So now I'll go ahead and put in a text box so we can label this. And I'll call it Continuous 1 inch EPS Foam Insulation. Alright, just give me a second here while I get this all situated. I'll shift it over a little bit. And there we go. Now, keep in mind that you can keep on editing and cropping this as much as you need. So for instance, the foundation, we need to key in that. So I'll go back to View and Cut Profile. So again, I'll just click in and draw my line. And this is typically the size of a 2x4. Or really, 1.5 by 3.5. There we go. So once we get that into place, you can start to see your key. And I know that this line shouldn't exist, so what I'm going to do is go into the Modify tab, and under the View panel is an option for line work. and you can actually select invisible lines. Now, when you select that, what you're able to do is actually go into your detail and select individual lines to make invisible. So now everything's drawn a bit more realistically. You have your key, you have your region hatch, we've got the design of our detail. Now that we've done that, we can go through and start adding in text. So I'll put a text box in the key, and I will call it structural key. And obviously, you can annotate these however you need for your company. Another thing you could do at this point is create a region hatch for the dirt. So I'll just basically create a series of lines and draw them around the existing elements of my model. I'll try and keep it as exact as I can, but it's not perfect. Alright, and I'll close up the region and hit the check mark. So what you can also do, here, let me actually just fix that little gap right there. Alright, so instead of a diagonal crosshatch, what we can do is actually duplicate this, and I'll call this Earth. And instead of opaque, I'll set it to transparent, so everything underneath shows through. And I'll choose the Earth hatch pattern. So once I have that, I'll hit OK, and there we go. So it's starting to look more detailed. Now obviously there are still more things we could include. You might want a stud frame wall with gypboard. So there's all sorts of other building elements you might want to include, along with the insulation and protective membranes and the like. But that's more of a construction topic, and this really just deals with how to detail. So you can use detail lines, region fills, detail components, insulation. You can go to the View tab and cut profile. And then under the Modify tab, Lineworks, which is really great if you want to hide or edit any lines that already exist in your model. Alright, that completes this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one.